This is NDTV. And you're watching Ndtv-Hindu.
The excruciatingly long waits at the traffic signals, the problems of commuters in rush hour traffic just got compounded. With the mile-long jams after what seems like an hour-long wait, the issue at hand becomes obvious. The ill-managed traffic lights are making life worse for the rush hour commuters, and there appears to be little respite in sight. Interestingly, the IT corridor that we love to boast of features the worst of such traffic signals. Now, to voice the concerns of the common man, of the common commuter, in fact, stuck in an unnecessary jam, I am now joined by Mr. Traffic Ramasamy and Mr. Raj Cherubal, the director of projects Chennai City Connect. A very good evening. You are watching Headlines Now with me, Ashmit Kumar. We'll dwell on that issue in greater detail in just a bit. But first, time now to run through the top stories at this hour. Even as Stalin visits sister Kanimuri in Tihar, trouble back home for the DMK leader as the AIDMK drags him to court, challenging his victory.
If we had any intentions of misuse of power or misappropriation of governance, then we would have swept over the elections in the entire state of Tamil Nadu.
The DMK gets ready for the two-day General Council meet, not in Chennai but in Coimbatore. Is Stalin's elevation on the cards? Minor reshuffle sees portfolios changing hands. Shanmugavel is the Rural Industries Minister. Karupasamy is given the sports portfolio. A spate of murders rocked the city, including 3 in the space of just 3 days. Ndtv-Hindu does a reality check on the traffic signals on our arterial roads and finds that the slowest signal is on the fast-spreading IT corridor. Specially able persons now face discrimination at the hands of the Exchequer, not given allotted compensation. Chennaites brace angrily for the most costly vegetables, hotel, food and possibly even mode for transport. 5 daredevil bikers on the beaches of Chennai arrested by the police. Well, let's also take a look at stories coming in from across the nation. 7-hour hell for journalist Jaydev's murder. The police say he was murdered by the Chota Rajan gang. 100 Congress supporters, including the state Congress chief, are detained in Lucknow after they clashed with the police. Rahul Gandhi goes to the All India Institute for Medical Sciences and meets the minor from UP who was nearly blinded when she fought off her rapists. A Mumbai anti-narcotics cop is arrested by the Raigad police at a rave party. The police suspect that he procured the drugs. And the big Bollywood bash in Toronto, stars walk down the green carpet for the IFA Awards. Well, first up, travelling on our city roads has become a time-consuming affair thanks to the huge volume of traffic. Well, despite the large number of automated traffic signals, the result, longer waits for motorists on arterial roads. Naturally, commuters are not happy and are fuming at this. Our correspondent Salim spent an entire day hitting on the streets to finding out on how long a motorist has to wait to pass a traffic signal.
This is the gateway to superfast communication, the IT corridor in the city. But Tidal Park is also the junction where traffic moves extremely slow. You have to wait for 4 minutes, yes, 4 minutes, before the red signal turns to green. Worse, it remains green for just a minute.
The duration of the traffic, the signal is also very high, which is very highly annoying, and they should deploy some other system.
Definitely it's irritating us, everybody, not me only, everybody, all the people.
In fact, the scene is similar everywhere, especially during the peak hours, when everyone wants to get to work or go home. We visited Egmore, Paris, Madhya Kailash and Tidal Park Junction during peak hours, and everywhere commuters blame the signal for the slow-moving traffic. It's 9:30 in the morning and look at the traffic gridlock on Nelson Manikam Junction. The traffic cop decides to switch from automatic to manual signalling so that the bottleneck will ease. At 10 a.m., things are not different at the Liberty signal in Kodambakkam. A little later, we are on Nungambakam High Road in the thick of traffic. At 10:30, you can see how it is. Spencer Signal is a roar of vehicles, angry faces and impatient drivers. Nelson Manikam Junction, red for 120 seconds, green for 60 seconds. Liberty, during peak hours, the traffic is regulated manually. Nungambakam, traffic is regulated manually during peak hours. Spencer's, 95% on manual signal, and at night, red for 90 seconds and green for 30 seconds. Egmore on digital timer, red stays for 90 seconds and green for 30 seconds. Parry's, a digital signal again, red for 100 seconds while green only for 20 seconds. Madhya Kailash, which is operated manually, stays at red for 150 seconds. The Tidal Park is at automatic, stays at red for 4 minutes, at green for just 1 minute. Traffic cops say that signals are changed based on the flow and density of traffic in each area.
traffic அதிகமா இருக்கிறதுனால கொஞ்சம் சிக்னல் ஆஃப் பண்ணிட்டு தான் வேலை செய்யணும். அப்பதான் கம்ப்ளீட்டா கிளியர் ஆகும்.
Experts, however, say more public transport and broader roads can ease the congestion. But how about another way? Organizing the signals. In Chennai with Salim, Evelyn Matthew for Ndtv-Hindu.
Of course, a big talking point as far as the number of commuters are concerned, especially around the IT corridor. And to dwell on this one very pressing issue, I have with me Mr. Traffic Ramasamy. He's of course a well-known social activist. And I have with me Mr. Raj, who's of course the director. So it is lovely having you here again. A very pressing issue at hand. Let me first begin with you, Mr. Ramasamy. A number of issues are at play, especially here when we talk in the context of commuters, again, having to wait for unbearably long periods. So again, let me first begin with your perspective on this issue as an activist.
As an activist, I feel the synchronization of signals is not at all done by the department. That's the main reason. And further, in a junction, there should not be any delay more than 2 minutes maximum. When you have to segregate the traffic movement, you should not allow, in the name of 100 vehicles on the other side or 10 vehicles on the other side, you should allow all the 100 vehicles. To such a way they are making the signals now. That is wrong principle.
Right.
So they must regularize that each signal should have only 30 minutes, 30 seconds maximum. Whatever it may, even the heavy value may be there. Equal distribution must be there maximum. That should be maintained. That's not done till today. And further, there are many signals unwanted due to the pressure of political peoples. Just in Dhanabad, from Gemini to the Eldam Road, there are 4 signals unnecessarily.
Right.
Everywhere they are blocking.
Right. So again, a number of signals which act as a blockade to traffic rather than facilitating traffic. Mr. Raj, let me come to you on this one. Mr. Ramasamy mentioned 30 seconds. Ideally, as an expert on the issue, how long should a commuter be required to wait at a signal before it actually translates into a jam?
It all depends on the volume and so on. But actually, just step back just for a second. Yeah, if you don't have world-class public transportation, the OMR is a multi-million-dollar road. Yeah, so next thing I think the government needs to do is public transportation. Otherwise, no matter what you do, no matter how much you study and synchronize, few years from now we're going to be standing there for half an hour or 10 minutes and so on. So synchronization is like icing on the cake. If you don't even have the cake, what's the point of putting an icing on it? Yeah. So imagine each of the junctions on OMR, unless it is properly designed with respect to the flow, how many people are trying to turn right, how many people are turning left. For example, if you watch the traffic that comes from the Asendas road, I go from Perungudi to Madhya Kailash direction. Most of the time people are just trying to get from Asendas side to Thiruvamur side and people from this side to this side. Yeah. So it's not the question of signal. It's a question of we trying to block each other because I'm trying to get this side, they're trying to get this side.
That's an interesting point that you're making here.
So it's nothing to do with synchronization.
We're looking for icing on the cake, whereas the government has even baked the cake for us.
There's no cake. So you can eat ice and get a stomach cake if you want, but you don't even have the cake. Cake is basically world-class junction designs, world-class corridor design, and of course public transportation. Yeah? Right. Then you can say, okay, I'll give 30 seconds this direction, 40 seconds that direction, and all that is fine. So when we don't even have the basic design and engineering and planning done, you can synchronize as much as you want. You'll still be there for 4 minutes.
It is there.
Right. So essentially the cake has not been baked and we're looking for solutions, whereas the government is offering only the icing here. But speaking of the action that has been taken, how would you look at the fact that there are about as many as 26 intersections which have been which are now looked upon as the intelligent traffic signals, which now can coordinate amongst them, and there's also talk of grid of traffic signals being formed so as to facilitate the movement of traffic. Would you still qualify this as perhaps
yes,
icing on the cake and really not addressing the fundamental issue?
It is a very important icing. Let me put it this way. Yeah. See, let's look at it this way. We have world-class cars, world-class bikes, powerful cars, powerful bikes which can accelerate, decelerate. The thing is, to manage all this stuff, you need to have world-class engineering, world-class management systems. So intelligent traffic system is one layer of that. That's very important. But unless the corporation, the highway and the traffic police and the TNRDC, the CMDA, etc. work on a 1-month plan, 2-month plan, 2-year plan, 5-year plan, how many buildings are going to come up on that road, where those buildings are going to park on the road, all this has to be planned. You can't simply say you have synchronized the signal and expect things to happen.
I think that's a very relevant point Mr. Raj is making here, that coordination is of utmost need right now when we talk about different agencies coming together to actually formulate a plan going forward. So as an activist, which are the agencies which you would hold responsible for actually collectively coming together for managing the traffic?
Mostly corporation and CMDA. They are the planners for long term, but they are not doing it. Apart from that, they are encouraging violations. So, for example, I have filed a case against multi-story building without car parkings. So, all the cars are parked on the roads, even for the multi-story buildings, shopping complexes. So, this is all wrong. The Tinagar is became worse because of that only. Right. I have filed, and they passed a resolution. Law is there. Law has been cancelled on my petition. So, these things fundamental. In the name of political, they say there is no need for any political interference in this. Right. Law should be enforced properly. Right. Then only we can manage all these things.
At this point, we're digressing onto a larger issue of course, fundamentals of strategic planning. Yeah,
that should be there. That's the main.
Exactly, that is the issue.
You don't have roads.
Right. So again, that is a point of concern here. But talking strictly about the traffic lights, I mean that too serves as a very fundamental component of the whole traffic management system as such. Now, talking about it, now some important statistics were discovered in the course of some research here. Now, at an average, about 10 traffic signals are down every day for maintenance work. We have every 3 months, about 1/12 of all signals in the city have to undergo some form of preventive maintenance work. A budget of 18 lakh per annum has been allocated for the same. So, with all these permutations, combinations in mind about preventive maintenance, signals falling out of service, how much of a concern is that when we talk of course, waiting at signals, which only gets worse by way of some of these signals not even working? Mr. Raj.
I'll give you an interesting example. Yeah? We did a study of the Gemini Junction. So today, for example, you're coming from Taj, you wait at the first signal, then you go around the circle and wait again, and then you go straight. Cathedral Ride, you do the same thing. From G.N. Chetty Road, you do twice. Yeah? So actually, if you see, there are about 7-8 phases of signal. By changing the design of the junction, you can actually bring down the phase to 3. Now, what does that mean? Today, if you calculate the amount of money spent waiting on the junction, we calculate it's about anywhere between 2 lakhs and 4 lakh per day is being lost to Chennai, people of Chennai, because we are waiting there. By changing the design, changing the structure, changing the geometry of the junction and so on, you can actually bring down the cost of waiting in the junction. So again, the point is, all this is part of it. It's not just one department that does these things. Police takes care of the traffic, it's fine. But all the other department needs to work together. And one thing I can tell you that recently government actually is now moving towards having traffic centers where you will have police and all these other departments working together, looking at stretches, looking at junction. So I'm actually very optimistic, even though the situation looks pretty bleak. I'm pretty optimistic because I think all the officials recognize the problem, which is a very nice thing. But I think it's going to take quite a bit of effort on the part of the various agencies to work together and their own work to get to some kind of an international standard. So, and also when it comes to planning, for example, when people turn from Thiruvamur to Madhigalash Road, they could have put an arm that takes you out.
Again, that is the larger issue of course planning. I think going ahead on the basis that yes, perhaps there are some roads which could have been planned better, but and talking about looking at having established the fact that these are stopgap arrangements, but the road forward, when you see it, when you look at these initiatives by the government, a grid of traffic signals that can communicate with each other, smart traffic signals as they're called. You mentioned here a grid will also be formed that will allow CCTV cameras to monitor the density of traffic and thereby perhaps indicate the green signals. So with this forward, Mr. Ramasamy, let me have your take on this. Of course, the road forward, having established the fact that yes, we've lacked basic planning here, but going forward, how do these initiatives actually fare out in terms of smoothing out the traffic burden?
smoothing of the, there must be some self-discipline among the vehicle drivers also. Apart from that, slow-moving vehicles are even allowed even in Mount Road. All should be stopped. Unless if you do all those things, you cannot expect. And parking of auto rickshaws, plenty in bus stops and all these things. So that's one of the reasons blocking the signals for moving. That's also one of the reasons. So there's no lane discipline at all.
Right, so that's again, so drivers drivers too are
also
really abiding by the law.
I actually have a little bit of a disagreement here because usually I don't want to play activist. But see, if you don't give me any system to follow, how am I supposed to follow anything? You don't even give me a proper white lane,
right.
Where I can, if you give me a white lane, I can decide and stay on traffic. And if you drive on Mount Road, for example, you stick to a lane. Every time you change the junction, you will find that the line has actually moved to the left or moved to the right, or sometimes you see the white line under your car. Which means even that white line requires engineering, requires planning. Then only you can blame me for not having discipline. You haven't given me anything, and you're asking me to be disciplined. How can I be disciplined? You haven't given me a footpath. I can't walk on the footpath. You can't give me a line.
It's an interesting thought.
Light doesn't work. How am I supposed to obey?
Is not enough.
Exactly.
Proper planning should be there.
Right.
When
So
they say they should not allow any light vehicles, buses, they are allowing. They are coming.
Right, so again, so
This
difficult
also
situation, this one, but then again, you've given us some interesting thoughts to actually at least ponder over. At least you've given some thoughts to the commuters. And interesting thought, that one, that of course we lack the very basic cake, leave alone the icing on it. So again, that's the sense coming in. Thank you, Mr. Raj, for joining us, for giving us your expertise, for lending us your thoughts on it, and also Mr. Traffic Ramasamy, as an activist, you've actively voiced the concerns of the commuters, and for joining us again and for doing that again. It was lovely having you, the both of you, right here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, with that, it's time now to slip into a very short break. We'll be back with lots more news and views coming in from your city on the other side. Keep watching.